30th of April, Rabbi Fusrt, Pierke Avos.
Right. Okay, so that's the statement that's being made now in reference as a description of Avraham Avinu's relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It was out of complete willingness and love. There was no necessity that was forcing Avraham Avinu to fulfill the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Therefore, the only motivation that he had was that he wanted to simply please the Kadosh Baruch Hu by doing his bidding, his will.
Okay. V'zeh davar bi'orohu Rabotenu Zecher Livracha al Pasuch Hey Yira v'Gomer. Let's see. Amar Avraham lifnei Kadosh Baruch Hu Ribono Shel Olam Kaloi v'Yadua lefanecha she'a Marta li. It's a long sentence. Kach na et bincha et yichicha. Oh, we say this every morning. Asher havat et yitzchak ba'alehu li liolah. Liolah.
Rabbi, I just want to remind you, I have a note that says justice. We were
Right, yeah, right. We're gonna get to that. Right, very good. Very
okay,
good.
no problem.
Thank you, Luke. Very good. We'll get it with Bez Hashem. Okay. Yeah, let's continue on.
Okay, so this, let's see, so this is the thing that our Rabbi Zecher Livracha said on Pasuch Hey Yira Gomer. Avraham said before Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the world, Galoi v'Yadua, reveal and make known lefanecha, before you, at the hour that you said to me, take your son, your only son, the one you love. Finally, we find out it's Yitzchak, and sacrifice him to me as a olah. Okay, so that's in Breshit. Okay. Hayiti achol omar, v'halo kivar, amartali ki v'yitzchak yikarei lecha zera. Okay, so let's see. Hayiti yachol. I would be able to say to you, Halo Kavar, that it's already that you already said to me, because of Yitzchak, you called. I'm not exactly sure. Lecha zera, to you, the generations, the seed.
His offspring. He would be his offspring. Meaning, Avraham Avinu could have had a claim when Kadosh Baruch Hu came with the request that he offer up Yitzchak. So Avraham Avinu had the opportunity at that point to make a claim and say, well, if you promised me Yitzchak is going to be my offspring, and if I sacrifice him, so that's going to be a little bit difficult to fulfill that promise. Right?
Right.
Yeah, Avraham Avinu did not do that, even though he could have, but he didn't.
Oh, so he really didn't. Okay. Well, he had full trust in Hashem, I guess, then.
Right.
Okay, including this paragraph, below amarti kach aval kavashti rachamei, below our parti achar midot taich, I guess. So, and he didn't say, but let's see about Cain. He didn't say so, but Avashti Rachmi, what my
Chavasi, like he quelled or he conquered his rachim.
okay.
Go ahead.
So he conquered his
Compassion.
compassion, right? Below here, heart, and he didn't show
He didn't question his after Hashem's conduct towards him.
Okay. Wow.
So let's do the next two lines, and then we'll
Okay. So 12. Sheyira mizeh meforash afilu mitzad mitzvot Hashem yiparach lo haya Abraham muhrach achar shehaya yachol lehitnatzel al zeh mimenu b'ta'ana amitit im ratzah velo asa chein aval kavash rachmei ha'av al haben li'ahavat Hashem. Okay, so Sheyira, that he feared.
No, we see from this.
Oh, we see from this. Okay. Let's see. Mifarashi, the explanation that even from the side of the mitzvah of Hashem Yitbarak, blessed be He, Lohaya Avraham was not forced afterwards. Shehaya Yachol Lihitnatzel, that he would be able to conquer this of his bitana. What's it? Ta'ana is grinding. No,
claim. The claim. You could have.
Oh, his claim. Okay, the truthful claim, if he wanted, and he did not. But he conquered his compassion of a father to a son, like the love to Hashem.
So there's a couple of words I'm wondering about here. Amtit.
That's the truth.
Truth?
Taina amitis, a true claim.
Okay, thank you. And kavash?
Kavash is to conquer.
Conquer. So there's two words for conquer, kavash and also lehit natsal.
Right, natsal is also to be successful. It could be successful. From the word hatzlacha.
Oh, to be successful. Thank you.
Successful.
Okay, so we see here the Akedah is being brought as an example of the fact that Avraham Avinu was serving Kadosh Baruch Hu out of the willingness of his heart without being forced to do it. Because when it came to the Akedah, two things. First of all, Hashem wasn't commanding him to do it. And second of all, Avraham Avinu had a claim that he could have made, and it would be a true claim. And therefore, just now now we can start talking about justice a little bit. And therefore, since it was a true claim that Kadosh Baruch Hu had promised Avraham Avinu that Yitzchak would be his offspring, and offspring means to carry on for generations, from one generation to the next. Therefore, Avraham Avinu had the opportunity to make a true and a successful claim that he wouldn't and shouldn't offer Yitzchak as an Akeda, because by doing that, that would nullify the promise Hashem made to Avraham that Yitzchak is going to be his offspring. And that would have been a true and successful claim. So the midas of justice of the Kadosh Baruch Hu would have to agree to the true claim, and there would be no penalty for Avraham Avinu not complying with Hashem's request of the Akeda for Yitzchak. So there'd be no penalty, but on the other hand, there'd be no advantage. He wouldn't have gained anything. Right? He wouldn't have passed any of the test. It was a test. The Akeda was a test, and it was given to him as a test, and he wouldn't have passed the test. He would have not taken the test. By not taking the test, he wouldn't have passed the test, and he wouldn't have gained all the various different things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to him because of his passing the test of the Akeda. And that's because the midas of justice of the HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have had to agree that Avraham Avinu's claim was a true claim.
This also doesn't this also show the can't think of the word, that the belief that Yitzchak also had true faith in Hashem, because he was bound up, and Avraham had the sickle in his hand, but
Right.
he didn't run away, he didn't complain, he didn't he went along with this plan, if this is what Hashem wanted.
Yeah, very true, very true. According to your point in there, you can ask the question, to whom was it a greater test, to Avraham Avinu or Yitzchak? Who had the greater test?
I would think Yitzchak. I mean,
I say Abraham.
in theory, Hashem could have had Abraham and Sarah have another son
Right.
to continue the Jewish people, or I guess Ishmael was out of the picture by now.
Yeah, I think he ruined it for himself. Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, I mean, Hashem could have performed tested Abraham to see his true devotion, and yet and had, for some reason, the process went through. Hashem could have granted Abraham and Sarah another child.
Yeah, that could have been done, like we see by Eve. Eve lost all his children, all his wealth, and tremendous sufferings. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu gave everything back. He replaced everything. So
Right.
definitely within the realm of possibilities, that's for sure. And also the test in one aspect being greater for Yitzchak And because after all, HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Avraham and told him to do this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't speak to Yitzchak and told him to do it. He was following his father's orders,
Mhm. Right.
which is a very important thing to follow. What the father says is very important. But it's not on the same level of hearing a directive from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So here the aspect of justice, you see that from the aspect of justice, Avraham would have had a positive and a successful claim not to do the Akedah. So that's what he's proving from this point. This point is being brought here to prove that the Ava that Avraham Avinu had for HaKadosh Baruch Hu was based on an Ava that he wanted to fulfill his will, meaning the love that Avraham Avinu had for HaKadosh Baruch Hu was based on the fact that Avraham Avinu simply, purely, absolutely wanted to fulfill the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we see that an example, a prime example is from the Akedah, that even though Avraham Avinu had that possibility to make a claim, get out from doing the Akedah, he didn't do that because he understood this is the will of Hashem. What did Hashem want from him? He's not commanding me. He's not commanding me to do this. And even if it would be a command, he could still have a claim, right? That it's not in place. And nevertheless, even though he had these claims and he didn't choose to make such claims, this is a proof that Avraham Avinu's love was Hashem was not because of any necessity. And what he was doing to fulfill the will of HaKadosh Baruch was not of any necessity. He was simply doing it because of his love that he wanted to please HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Uh-huh.
But I think, Rabbi, in order to have this be a proper logical analysis, remember I asked the question, what about Sodom? If you wanted to say that Abraham showed his total trust in Hashem by not questioning him here, what about Sodom? He questioned him there. Does that mean he didn't have absolute trust in him at that time? I don't think we can say that.
Right, yeah, obviously, right, that's true. There,
So,
like
I think we
there,
have to ask about both. We have to explain both scenarios in order to really flesh this out.
yeah. So Sodom was completely different. There, Avraham Avinu had free reign to allow his midah of Rachmanis to be expressed in his desire and prayers for the attempt to save Sodom. Because of Avraham Avinu's midas arachamim, even though they were absolute complete Rishoyim, they were deserving of death and destruction, which they eventually got, right? But nevertheless, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, knowing Avraham Avinu's complete basis for his love for other people, especially even Rishoyim, was based on the fact of his great midah of rachamim, of rachmanis, and compassion, mercy. So he allowed, and Avraham Avinu was expressing his midah of rachmanis, trying to save through his prayers the Rishoyim of Sodom. But here it's completely opposite. Here Avraham Avinu suspended his midah of rachamim, right? And in order to fulfill the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because here the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was expressed. The will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu here at the Akedah was expressed in the desire that Hashem wanted Avraham Avinu to offer Yitzchak as an Akedah, right?
Isn't it expressed in Sodom also? Hashem said, "I'm going to destroy them."
Yeah, but that was not a something which was relevant to Avraham Avinu himself. Avraham Avinu was only privy to the plans of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because specifically of Hashem's great love for Avram Avinu. The pasuk says there that it wouldn't be right that Sodom be destroyed without telling Avram Avinu. That 1 second, I'll reference you to the pasuk there. You can take a look. 1 second. It's in Bereshis. One second.
I think it's in Yud Ches and pasuk 18, pasuk Yud Ches.
Second.
No, before that, 17. Hashem said, "Shall I conceal from Abram what I do? And Abram will surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. For I have cherished him, because he commands his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of Hashem, doing charity and justice, in order that Hashem might bring upon Abraham that which he had spoken of him." So Hashem said, because the outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah has become great, and because their sin has been very grave, I will descend to see if they acted in accordance with its outcry, which came to me, then destruction. And if not, I will know.
You need to see the Rashi in Yud Zion there. Look at what the Rashi says in Yud Zion.
Yud Zion. Shall I conceal? This is Bitmia. This is a rhetorical question. What I do in Sodom, it is unbecoming of me to do this thing without his knowledge. I have given him this land, and these 5 cities, which I am about to destroy, are his. As it says, the Canaanite boundary extended from Sidon, reaching Sodom and Amorah, etc. I have called him Abraham, an abridged form of a father of many nations. Shall I destroy the children and not inform the father, who is someone who loves me?
Right. Exactly. So, Kadosh Baruch Hu, in fairness to Avram Avinu, that as Rashi says, these 5 cities were given to Avram Avinu, and so therefore it wouldn't be proper that that Kadosh Baruch Hu would be destroying them without Avram Avinu's knowledge, right? So Kadosh Baruch Hu informed Avram Avinu about what was going to happen. Avraham Avinu injected his prayers and his pleas, his compassion, his mercy to try and save the people of Sodom. When Avram Avinu realized that there were no people worthy of being saved in Sodom, so he had no other recourse except to accept the decree that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to destroy Sodom and the other 4 cities. And Avram Avinu therefore was informed, and he understood the righteousness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in destroying these cities.
But only after he questions Hashem.
No, he didn't question Hashem. He was petitioning for their to save them. he was saying, he acknowledged that he understood they were Rishoyim. He knew they were Rishoyim. He didn't live there. That's why he was separated himself from there. And it says when Lot went there, it also was a terrible failing on Lot's part that he went to live there. So it was known the lifestyle and the behavior and the crime and the corruption of Sodom. But nevertheless, Avram was hopeful that there would be at least a few tzaddikim there that would be able to, in their schus, save the rest of the population. So that's what Hashem wanted Avram to realize and to know, that there was absolutely no way that these cities could be spared, because there weren't even enough tzaddikim amongst them all that would allow Kadosh Baruch Hu to overlook the sins of the rest of the people living there in the schus of these tzaddikim, at least to allow them not to be destroyed. So Hashem was informing Avram, because that was proper to do, not to destroy something which was given to Avram. It's not proper to destroy it without Avram understanding why that's going to be done. And Avram, now realizing what was going to be done, he petitioned Kadosh Baruch Hu to perhaps have enough mercy, if there would be a sufficient critical mass of righteousness in Sodom. But realizing that there was not that critical mass of righteousness in Sodom, the only recourse was to accept the decision of Kadosh Baruch Hu to destroy them. That was ultimately for their benefit as well. And therefore, it wasn't that Avram was trying to contradict the Kadosh Baruch Hu. He was just trying. He didn't know. He couldn't have known whether there were 10 tzaddikim there or 50 tzaddikim there or not. That Avram wouldn't. That only Kadosh Baruch Hu knows who's a tzaddik and how many tzaddikim there actually are. Right. So, but that was what he was trying to find out. Let's see if there are going to be 10 tzaddikim in each city. That means 50 in total. That would be enough to save the cities. Hashem said yes. Take a look. No. Okay, 45, not 30, not 20, not 10, not also. Okay, 10, not nothing. Okay, so there's no choice. Avram understands the situation now, and he accepts the decision of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Whereas, and he could have, and with the Akeda, he could have made a claim, that would have been a successful claim to relinquish his responsibility towards fulfilling the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in offering Yitzhak. But the proof that we're learning here is that since Avram did not use the claim that he could have used the claim, right? And it would have been a true and successful claim. That's a proof that there was nothing forcing Avram to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The service, the avoda, that Avram did in obeying HaKadosh Baruch Hu was simply because he wanted to fulfill the ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was that he should offer up Yitzchak. He's willing to do it. He has a claim that could relinquish his obligation to do that. But Avram didn't want to use that claim because his primary motivation, that was the beginning of the paragraph number 11. His primary motivation, Avram, was to please the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem wants him to offer his son as a sacrifice. That's going to please Hashem. That's what Avram wants to do, right? And it wasn't forced to do it. The proof that he wasn't forced to do it was because he could have used the claim. If he was going to be forced to do it and he didn't want to do it, he could have used his claim, but he didn't use his claim. By Sodom, the situation's opposite. The Sodom is that Kadosh Baruch Hu wants Avram to know that Sodom is going to be destroyed. Avram was using his midah of Rachmanis in order to plead and try and save the Rishoyim of Sodom. And by the Akeda, it was completely opposite. In the opposite aspect, he did not use his Midah of Rachmanis. He could have used his Midah of Rachmanis to save Yitzhak, just like he wanted to use his Midah of Rachmanis to save the people of Sodom. He could have used his Midah of Rachmanis to save Yitzhak, but he didn't, because he wanted more than anything else to fulfill the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. By Sodom, the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was to destroy Sodom, but it wasn't his HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Ratzon in terms of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu was not asked to pass judgment on Sodom. Right? He was told that what was going to happen. Avram Avinu on his own now wanted to interject and say, maybe there's a way to save the cities. Maybe there's a way to save the cities. And Hashem said, okay, let's see if there is. And it turned out there wasn't, and there was no way to save the cities. By the Akeda, the Ratzon Hashem was to offer up Yitzhak as the Oila. By Sodom, the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was to inform Avram Avinu. Right? So Avram Avinu was informed, and he understood now that he has an opportunity to try and save the people. And he did, but unsuccessfully. But that wasn't anything that was lacking on the part of Avram Avinu. Yeah.
Well, I'm troubled by what I read in the Rashi about Sodom. On Pasuk 23, on the phrase Vayigash Avraham, Rashi says for war. And then a little bit further on the same pasuk, where Avraham says, "Va'af tispeh," will you obliterate? Rashi says, anger. It's reference to anger. Will your anger steer you, that you will obliterate the righteous with the wicked? It sounds like he's arguing strongly.
That's only he was only trying to. He was not arguing on the destruction of the Rishoyim. He was only arguing on the destruction of the tzaddikim, and that was his old claim, was that maybe there's a tzaddik there, but it turned out there was no tzaddikim. He was only arguing for the sake of the tzaddikim, that if there were tzaddikim there, let's save the tzaddikim, or maybe save them all for the sake of the tzaddikim. So that he had a right to do that. That was well within his ability and desire to save the tzaddikim, right? Avram Avinu understood that if there were tzaddikim there, they could possibly survive. So he said, okay, let's take a look. So they looked, and they couldn't find. So once they couldn't find, there was nothing else to do.
So why doesn't Abraham have confidence in Hashem, that of course Hashem's not going to wipe out the righteous with the wicked?
No, he does. It's Hashem will write. He will write out that's brought down many times. And once HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a gezerah, that if the gezerah is for destruction, it doesn't matter if they're tzaddikim or they're Rishoyim. Everyone, that was even in the Mitzrayim. That even in Mitzrayim, the whole concept of Hashem was pasach al bati avosenu b'Mitzrayim, that Hashem passed over our houses. He had HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmo had to pass over our houses, because even the Jews were at risk of being destroyed at the time of Makas B'Koros. Because once destruction is let loose, it doesn't make any difference between a tzaddik or a Rush. So that's the great fear of even tzaddikim. Even tzaddikim are very fearful of when destruction begins. Destruction doesn't make any distinctions between the righteous and the unrighteous.
So why does he say, does Abraham say, according to Onkelos, would you obliterate the righteous with the wicked? If you're saying that that's, we understand that that's the way it works, what is Abraham asking?
His understanding was that if there were enough righteous people in Sodom, everyone would have been saved, not to destroy them.
Right, but you just said that the righteous get destroyed along with the wicked.
That's right.
the way Hashem does it.
Right. Once you don't have that critical, you always have to have a critical mass. If there's no critical mass, then everything has to be destroyed.
But Abraham got it to the point where he established that in all 5 cities, if there was 10 righteous people, it wouldn't be destroyed. That's a small number.
That's right. You learned that out from Noah. You learned out from Noah that there were 10 that were saved from Noah. Rashi goes into that in the previous, I think, one of the other Rashis there. But yeah, again, what that critical mass, doesn't have to be a large critical mass, but whatever critical mass is, you have to have that critical mass. So the point that's being made over here is, you see that Avraham Avinu was not, because of his love for Kadosh Baruch Hu, the love which was completely based upon the desire to do the will of Kadosh Baruch Hu. So there was no necessity for Avraham Avinu to do anything that he did. All the things that Avraham Avinu did, was no necessity for him to do it. The things that he was doing and his accomplishments were made because of his desire to fulfill the Ratzon of Kadosh Baruch Hu, which was an expression of his great love for Kadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, good. All right, I think that brings us to about the end of our time for today. Maybe we'll take a break here.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, very good, Mitzvah Shem.
Thank you.
Roy, should have a good afternoon. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Yep. Me too.
Okay. We'll be starting the Mr. Bruce here in a few minutes. Take a